here's our subject today. This is a DS that was actually purchased on release week, so this thing is quite old for a DS. It's getting phantom touching in this point in the screen here where sometimes it'll just touch itself, so it's weird. So we're going to fix that with our replacement touch screen courtesy of Deal Extreme for $3.75. First thing you want to do, take the battery cover off, remove the battery, remove any cartridges you might have in the unit. And you'll notice that there's several screws all around the sides of the unit that are tri-wing. You'll need a special screwdriver for that. Once we remove all 7 screws, the back of the unit should just slide right up and off. Put that to the side for now. Next thing we want to do is take our L&R triggers out. Now when you take these out, there are springs in them, and we all know how springs like to spring. The next thing we got to worry about is these 3 ribbon connectors right here. The one on the top here, this wide width ribbon, flips up like a little thing. Just flips right up, and then the ribbon can come out. A good way to do this is to take your little screwdriver, get behind it, and that way you can pull on it a little bit more evenly. The first connector is a simple flip-up mechanism. Basically just unlatches, cable comes out. The next 2 that you're going to have to worry about, the dark part of the plastic slides this way away from the beige part of the plastic. Both of these will have to be removed. Very gentle with these. These can snap quite easily. What I usually like to do is work them one side at a time and carefully remove them. Wireless card just pops right off. A little N-type connector in there. Okay. And the next one we're going to worry about is the top screen, which operates just like the one up here. It is a flip up. Get on everybody's thumbnail, pop it. And it's out. The next thing we're going to have to take out is 1, 2, 3 screws out of the motherboard. They are marked, actually 4 screws, one back here that's hiding in the cartridge slot. Again, I'm going to use my eyeglasses screw for that. These are real tiny screws and they are exceedingly easy to strip out. Once those are removed, we can go about pulling our motherboard. Also, it's important to note that on the older units, there's this foam crap here, and so when we take this out, we sort of got to be a little bit ginger about it. Now at this point, it's good to note which direction the cable on the touchscreen faces and at which corner it's lined up with. To get the touchscreen off, we have to get under here with a fingernail very carefully indeed, because this is glass. And just start separating it down very slowly, very deliberately. Get it from one corner and start working your way down to the side. And that is our old touchscreen. And we take out our new touchscreen. The first thing we want to do is leave the when you hold this, you really don't want to hold it like this because it's got these protectors on it that it comes with so it's fine for right now. You want to remove the back plane that's going to be sticking down only. Do not remove the other side yet. And this is the tricky part. This is where we line it back up with the corner that it was lined up with before, and we try to get it on there as straight as possible. And then around the edges you press slightly to bond it to it. But don't worry if you're ever so slightly out of line or whatever, it should be fine. Next thing we want to do is peel the top layer off of this. The next step, we flip her back in. Make sure all your wires are back to where they should be. And we're back to our main board again. To get the main board in properly, this should go, that little bend there should go around the edge of the motherboard there. These 3 wires here will need to all come through this hole here. I recommend going for this one first just to hold it into place. And the second one you're really going to want to worry about is this one by the cartridge slot here, because it is pretty tricky to get a screw in there without just losing it in the damn thing. Remember, the white circles are the ones we want. We don't want to put it in the other ones because those are the case screws. Once you get the motherboard back in like that, you want to take your unit, open it up, press all your buttons, make sure they're clicky. That way you know everything's lined up. Now we take our connector for the wireless, pop that back on. And we want to feed this connector in. Again, pliers can be really useful for this because you can grab this black piece, the darker piece of plastic, which is actually reinforced, to sort of jam it in there. Now on the backs of these there are little white strips on these, so they are able to be grabbed and shoved in there. And fingernails, clip it closed, try to clip it evenly. Pulling them open, you can get away with doing it one side at a time, but when you're putting it back in, you want it to lock up as evenly as possible. And we're in. Looks good to me. And we put our top thread in. Again, it's got a nice little thick piece of reinforcing plastic, so we can slide that up in there. Don't manhandle it. So if you manhandle this thing, you will be a very, very unhappy camper. These clips, again, carefully lock them down. Don't go crazy and just smash it down, because that little black piece of plastic has a huge tendency to just break apart. Now, we're looking at this upside down. Remember, you're looking at it like this, so your R trigger and your L trigger. The easiest way I find to do this is have those facing you. So R is still R and L is still L. The trickiest bit about this is to get this spring to get in its little holder there and the little tab at the same time. So I kind of tilt the unit up, get the spring in there. You'll feel the spring catch against the bottom of the board, and then pop it right in. Click it a couple times, you'll feel it click, click, click. That means we're good. Lather, rinse, repeat for the other side. Back of the unit. Make sure your wire there is routed around this little tip post here, so that you don't end up screwing through your wireless cable. That should drop right on there like that. If you push this in and it's sort of springing back up, that means you have to open the unit up, check your wiring, check all your cables, make sure they're all out of the way. But it should just drop right on and lock right up. And then we play the game where we get to put all bunch of... Wait, these are tri-wings, aren't they? Huh?
Not with your Phillips head, you don't.
Yeah, right. Tri-wing again, because these are all the friggin' case screws. Remember, there's one in the lanyard hole, there's two under the battery, there's two over here, and there's one by the cartridge slot and slot 2. This is what happens when your charger cable wears out after 5 years. Plug that in. We got a little amber light there. That's a good sign. That means we did something right. Now we're going to power her up. Both screens came on. Excellent. Before you begin, you must adjust system settings. Please touch the touchscreen. Touchscreen seems to work. Wonder why it takes so long to get to the friggin'... Whatever, I need to adjust my... I don't care about all that. Yeah, shut down, whatever. The first thing we're going to do is, once we got past that, we're going to go back into the system settings. Use the D-pad, because you're not really going to be able to use the touchscreen until it's calibrated. Calibrate the touchscreen. I'm going to hit right in the middle of those little squares. And you want to be very careful about it, because... And then we can go and test all our inputs. And make sure it's not hitting anywhere else. That's good. Touchscreen has been calibrated. We can do all our other settings properly. And this is actually a really good test for it. Especially the keyboard.
Of course.
Looks good to me. Touchscreen's working. Everything seems really solid now. Let's see what time is it. 12:35.
Future NSA investigators will be able to use this video to determine the exact time you fixed your DS.
Right. Time setting saved, and our touchscreen seems to be working absolutely brilliantly. System will shut down after you set everything, and we are good to go. That is how you fix the DS touchscreen. Next, we're going to see what a touchscreen can take before it stops working.